Tonight we got a witch story out of Gadsden, Alabama. And this isn't the witch at your herb shop buying sage and Palo Santo and tourmaline crystals. This is your classic textbook archetype nefarious witch selling souls and perpetuating acts on the expense of the innocent, the whole 9 yards. Okay, the Witch of Hinds Road is what we're talking about. And Gadsden, at this time, we're talking about the 30s, Depression era, was still a rural town. But the thing was, the Depression was on at the time, and Gadsden had become a bit of a boom town because it had given out a bunch of grants for construction. So there was a lot of work in Gadsden, and people came from all over for the jobs. Well, that brought in, a lot of new people to the area that didn't know things the way the locals did. See, the locals had known about this lady that lived on Hinds Road forever. For generations, they'd known to steer clear of the woods around Gadsden. This old spinster lady that lived out in the woods along Hinds Road. Now, this was it's still a gravel road to this day, but, it was just an old unpaved road out in the sticks on the outskirts of Gadsden. And this old spinster lady lived there by herself, and she had this huge black dog. Now, sometimes this is known as the devil dog of Hinds Road also, or the witch of Hinds Road. Either way, in the 30s, a bunch of children started going missing. It started out as one or two, but by the time it was close to a dozen and a town hall meeting had been called about it, well, leaving the town hall meeting, one of the families in attendance came home to discover that they had two sons missing. So, of course, a search party was quickly formed, and on the edge of town, they found one of the sons running as fast as he could in tattered clothing. And by the time they got him stopped and could get a story out of him, they found out that he and his brother had been in the woods on the outskirts of town, and they had went down this road, and they came across this enchantingly beautiful woman. And they thought that she hadn't noticed them. So they were basically spying on her a little bit, following her through the woods to see where she went. They were enchanted by her beauty. And they said what was most remarkable and most notable is that she had waist-length, very beautiful brunette hair, and she had very enchanting emerald green eyes. As a matter of fact, you could see the sparkle in these green eyes from a distance. But she was very young and very beautiful. Well, as they were organizing a search party for the rest, of course, this brother gets sent safely home, and they send a search party out to the woods to look for the missing brother. Well, this doesn't track with the locals where they say they only knew an older lady by the name of Torbitt that lived out there. And she was elderly, even in their past generations, she was elderly, so she had to be in her 90s now. But she was known to keep a very large black dog, just like this woman that the boys had been pursuing. She sicked her dog on them is what happened. She went all the way to a remote cabin in the woods, and just as she was letting herself inside, she kind of side-eyed and let the boys know that she had been aware of their presence the whole time. And she sicked the dog on him, and that's what happened to the brother. They had got separated in the running away from this hellhound. Well, as this search party is going to look for the lost brother, on the way to the cabin, they come across this cave. So, thinking that the boy, in his run to escape might have sought shelter in his cave, they send a couple of members of the search party to investigate this cave. Now, they already had not anticipated how far out in the woods this place was going to be. So the sun had already set, and they've got, torchlight. They've lit torches. Part of the party has split off to go check out this cave. And not much longer after they dispatched a couple of the men towards the cave, they hear this shouting coming back from that direction. So, of course, half the group goes back to the cave to see what all the shouting's about. And as they reach the mouth of this cave, they see one of the gentlemen that they sent in running out, like he's trying to save his life. But he had basically gone mute. He wouldn't do anything but shake his head and point and whimper. You couldn't get no words out of the man after he came back out of that cave. Well, not only was this going on at the cave, now they heard shouting coming from on further in the woods towards the cabin. Well, within sight of the cabin was this pond right next to the old lady's house, or the lady's house. Anyway, and this pond was said to be a curious red color, and about half of the search party was keeled over, gagging, dry heaving at what they had seen. The search had unfortunately come to an end, and it was the worst imaginable end. In the pond, their search ended, unfortunately, and it did not go well for the other brother. Well, of course, they took vengeance. They sought revenge on this lady. They went to the cabin and they heard her inside singing a soft lullaby. They could hear a lady inside singing softly a lullaby. So they pounded on the door. And when they did, the singing stopped. And they say, we know you're in there. We know what you did. Come out now. The only answer they got was kind of a maniacal laughter. Well, you know how angry mobs go. Oh, that's all it took. A torch was thrown into the window, and after that, many more torches followed. There were guards set at the outside. Nobody ever attempted to come out of the house. Now, from the stories, you could hear screams all throughout the woods that night. Those maniacal screams and maniacal laughter, it could be heard all the way throughout the woods, all the way into town, into Gadsden. Never found hide nor hair of her after that. Cabin burnt to the ground. There's just a shell of it standing there today. People still go by to explore the cave. It's kind of a rite of passage to the locals now. But Sarah Torbitt was an older lady in their generation, but the thought was with the children that she was able to make herself young again. And that's what she was doing, that she had some kind of deal going with that pond, and she would bathe herself in that pond to be young again. But that's been the story of the Witch of Hinds Road. That's been Jay's Haunted Appalachia for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep sending me your stories and suggestions, guys, and keep Appalachia haunted, y'all.